The godfather of the modern PC, the inventor of the computer, Ivan Sutherland. It's like he said in 1965, that's what, 53 years ago. He said the ultimate display would of course be a room in which the computer can control the existence of matter. With appropriate programming, such a display could literally be the wonderland into which Alice walked. A chair displayed in such a room would be good enough to sit on, handcuffs displayed would be confining, and it would actually feel like you were standing on a stage with the bunch. He didn't actually say that 53 years ago, but I'm paraphrasing. The idea was that he imagined a future where the mind was convinced that something was real, and we are now living in that future today. So what are the business limitations of the live event situation, right? This is more for the promoters. So the first thing is proximity, and we're kind of trying to aim for the sweet spot where all of these issues overlap. You're trying to constantly balance these scales. So proximity is a geography question, right? You've got one stadium and one band. You can't clone them, but they might have a lot of fans that want to attend the show, but those fans are out of town, out of country, or perhaps even on a different continent. The second thing is the capacity of that stadium. I know as a former promoter that you're constantly trying to weigh up the costs of a massive stadium with the ticket price and how many people you can kind of fit in there, how many people can afford it, how many people are interested in coming to that particular event. And like I said, I got that badly wrong twice. The third thing is the consumer price point, right? The affordability of going to these concerts. In the US, for example, concert tickets are absolutely astronomical because they can charge a premium. But you're also losing a massive amount of the potential fans. The fourth thing is immersion, right? This is about that expression of the emotions that I spoke about earlier. People are craving that. They want to feel like they're in the middle of the action. It's quite easy to achieve that with a concert-type situation. There's a vibe. There's an atmosphere. That's why people go. But it often comes at the detriment of comfort. And I'll chat about that in just a second. What VR allows the concert promoter to do is to completely ignore the issue of proximity, at least as far as the stream goes. So proximity is no longer an issue because people can stream in from anywhere in the world if they have a headset. Capacity is no longer an issue. So if you filled the biggest stadium in Africa, right, FNB Soccer City, 94,000 and somewhat people, if you filled that stadium, you could still have another 1 million people experiencing that concert live using virtual reality. So we no longer care about capacity. Affordability, another thing that we don't have to care about that much because for $3 or $5, which is essentially the pack of a 6-pack of Cokes, we can enable people through a paywall to actually access these experiences in the case of a really big artist or really big kind of business opportunity. Again, coming back to the local artist or the local label trying to build a fan base, this is still an amazing way without necessarily charging for it to allow you to engage far more fans as an immersive way as a real concert would than ever possible before. So the new sort of dynamic looks like this, at least as far as VR goes. So you're trying to find the sweet spot between immersion and comfort, and often these are polarizing forces. I'm going to tell you a story. So 2016, January, was the last time that I ever attended a concert. It was a Mumford & Sons concert in Pretoria, South Africa, and I went there with my girlfriend. And everything was going pretty well up until just about Mumford & Sons walked up on stage. And there was a group of 20-something-year-old girls next to us, and they'd obviously been drinking all day long, as a lot of people do at concerts. And there was sort of this conversation that I kept on hearing, just in earshot, around, I really need to go to the bathroom. I really need to go to pee. And this girl's friends would say, Mumford is coming out now. Mumford is coming out now. You can't go. You can't miss this. This is why we're here. And so Mumford came out on stage, and all the girls were screaming for Mumford. And the conversation kind of took this cyclical pattern, which was, Mumford, I love you, Mumford. And, I really need to pee. And then she'd take another sip of her beer. And I'm wondering, where is all this beer going to go if she needs the bathroom that badly? And she answered that question by promptly squatting down and peeing into her empty beer cup. And so partway through that evening, I noticed that my feet and my legs were completely soaked, and I looked over, and her cup had fallen over, and I didn't know to what degree it was the spilt beer and to what degree it was the pee, and it was just an absolutely horrific experience for me, and that's why I haven't gone back to a concert. Right? It's a long way of saying something quite simple, and that simple thing is, oh, and this is what I was thinking at the time, is beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life down here. So that got me thinking quite a lot about live VR in a concert sort of space. And this is the point I'm trying to make, is that there are pain points involved with going to a concert, right? If you're young and there's not much else to do, it's kind of a rite of passage going to these crazy concerts. But here are some of the issues with them. Number one is pee-cuppers, my personal pet peeve. But traffic, parking, queues, pickpockets, screamers, drunks, tall people, I'm kind of short, losing friends, cell reception, weather, and in some cases, particularly in the US right now, unfortunately, the fear of terrorism. There have been 2 cases of really, really large-scale terrorist attacks, and there is a definite concern from the public in the States about actually attending these concerts. Not a cool thing, and not at all what you would kind of want to get out of a live concert experience. So as far as the live VR goes, number one, you're consuming it from the comfort of your own home, with the friends that you want, with the group that you want. And the second thing is that you can access this from anywhere on Earth. So, if you're based in Lagos and you're really interested in a US artist that's playing at, a massive stadium in Michigan, you can actually live stream in from where you are. You don't have to physically travel there and see the artist you've always dreamed of seeing. The third thing is that it can be really, really cost effective. We're talking about micropayments here, the same price as an app, let's say. And the fourth thing, and this is really important specifically for the brands, the sponsors, is the experiences that you can get in VR. We call them the unobtainium experiences. These are things that you wouldn't actually be able to experience even if you went to a concert. And that's things like, firstly, seeing artists you may have always wanted to see but would not have the facility to actually see. How many of us would want to go to a Drake concert, for example, but it's prohibitive if he doesn't tour in our city. Hanging out in the green room. So before the artist actually gets on stage, there's a camera inside the green room. You've got a headset on, and you feel like you're sort of rubbing shoulders with the artist before they get up on stage. As well as the choice of view, you can actually choose if there are multiple cameras inside the stadium. So let's say there's one on the stage, there's one in the middle of the crowd, and there's one on a cable cam that's actually flying up and down the stadium. You can choose in a headset which one you want to be at any given moment in time. So not only have you teleported yourself all the way to that concert, you can teleport yourself within that concert without losing your friends and losing your own way. So this was done recently by a company called NextVR, very successfully with Citibank. And why I bring this example up is because I know from having worked in the concert industry, especially where brands are involved, that this is a very difficult environment for a brand to cut through the clutter. How do you get people's attention in this space? And the answer, and there is only one answer, and that is you have to add value as a brand. How do you add value? You connect the consumer to what it is that they love in a more kind of deep way than you've ever been able to before. So the whole live VR thing obviously comes with cost attachments, and we'll discuss that in a second, but it's an awesome opportunity for a brand, a sponsoring brand, to offer something that has never really been offered before and to give them even more reach than just what's happening on the grounds of the concert itself. So there are massive fan benefits. We've established that. So let's go back to the promoters for a second. So I want to do a very, very basic, very top-level sort of business case around the monetization of the potential here. And remember that I'm trying to speak conceptually. I'm trying to expand people's horizons as to what this technology is able to do now and where it's kind of heading into the future. So these are easy numbers, but let's say hypothetically, you have a venue, right? And that venue is going to have 10,000 people attending a concert, a festival. We're going to charge around $20 for that. You're looking at $200,000 in revenue. According to the previous chart, about 25% of the revenue that you generate on ticket sales is about what you can charge for sponsorship. So we're going to add another $50,000 there. So you're charging your revenue is $250,000. Live Nation is a very well-known international concert promoter, and for example, they post their public earnings and they make about 28-30% or net profit after they've paid everybody. So you're looking at about $75,000 profit on a $250,000 concert scenario as a promoter. So that same concert, let's assume that we do a live stream there. It's not entirely unrealistic for us to consider double the capacity of the people physically in the stadium as digital viewers, people experiencing live VR in a headset. We're going to charge them $3, so we're making $60,000. Sponsorship, according to YouTube and Facebook standard advertising norms, cost per view, CPV, you're looking at about 30 US cents per view or 30 US cents per viewer, which gives you about $6,000 of sponsorship. So that is branding inside this experience, of the app or of the live stream itself. So you're looking at about $66,000, which right now looks like a pretty far cry from the $250,000 you earned on the physical side, but still a pretty compelling amount of money. Your production cost maximum for something of this scale, again, we're talking about a 10,000 person concert here. You're looking at about $10,000, $15,000, absolute worst case, on everything. That's multiple cameras, the production crew, a dedicated network set up to actually stream that signal out of the concert and to your viewers. So your profit is looking at about $51,000, which is so much closer to the profit you've actually made on the physical concert itself, and a significant increase in your total revenue and your total profit. And what's more is, while you're live streaming, and while live streaming happens, recording is happening anyway. And part of what makes VR expensive, VR production expensive, is the post-production. That takes a lot of time, it's a lot of data. But while you're live streaming, you're actually recording that stream anyway, and you can put that stream up on these ecosystems. So this is sort of what it looks like inside one of these headsets. You've got a left eye and a right eye screen, and you've got an environment where you can pick multiple experiences. So once you've streamed your concert, you can put the content up on one of these platforms, and you can charge additional money, or be able to benefit from royalties on the playback side there. I am out of my depth to talk about things like public performance and royalties and stuff as far as live streaming, but knowing that there is another technology coming out, you can be empowered as an artist to be prepared to do deals with people like promoters. You shouldn't be signing on broadcast rights without you getting a cut of that. So by 2025, it's predicted that the live streaming industry in virtual reality, so this includes sports, but sports and music, is going to be worth about $4.1 billion, billion, with 95 million users. This is according to Informa, which is a really big research company. So hopefully we'd agree that there are massive business benefits, and as we've discussed before, there are also massive sponsor benefits. So just to go through some of the challenges and opportunities that kind of face VR and its mass adoption, and certainly as it applies to Africa. So number one is accessibility of the VR hardware, right? We've got to remember that we are only 5 years into the commercial VR world, the world where you can actually buy a headset or a camera, right? It's only been viable for about 5 years, so it's very, very young. How do we go about making sure that people actually have access to the experience? And yes, live VR can be streamed to YouTube directly. 360 video in VR can be put on platforms like Facebook, but really the magic is in a headset experience, right? That's where you experience that telepresence, that sense of actually physically being there. So there are a couple of signs that are really encouraging for us. So almost exactly a year ago, we bought 40 of these. That's the Samsung Gear VR headset. It actually uses a Samsung S8 inside as the screen. This cost us about $1,000 per unit last year. And to my utter disgust, about 6 months later, the Oculus Go came out for a fifth of the price. So that's how fast technology, the price of technology, is actually coming down. So this is now. So we've gone from a device that was competing with iPads from a retail point of view and pricing point of view to a device that's now sort of in the lower end fitness tracker watch sort of retail environment. And here's something I'm really excited about. This is called a Google Cardboard, right? This is a $5 device, and it actually uses your own phone. What kind of phone can turn a piece of cardboard into a high-tech VR headset? And the answer is pretty much any smartphone. If your phone could connect to the internet and you can download apps, you've got a smartphone. And you might be amazed to find out that no matter where you're from in Africa, certainly Africa, 20 to 30% of your population already has a VR-capable device in their pockets. This is an amazing opportunity. So let's explore that just for a sec. Sub-Saharan Africa, these are the trend lines for smartphone penetration and adoption into the next few years, right? So we're looking at around 33% of Sub-Saharan Africa currently has a smartphone. And the crazy thing is that by 2025, that number is going to double. That means 66% of Africa will have a VR-capable device in their pockets. So that number of 20,000 doesn't seem that far-fetched anymore. The other opportunity is what we call physical location-based cinemas. So this is where people like us, for example, who we've got the hardware and we've got a number of headsets, we sometimes create these pop-up cinemas where people can come and remotely experience something that's taking place somewhere else. So just think about the opportunity of, let's say, a concert happening on, the west coast of America, but live streaming to various pop-up situations across Africa. Or, even better, we've got something really cool happening out in Africa that's being live streamed to all these places that have access to these headsets. The second thing is the smoothness of experience, right? And I don't want to get too kind of techie here, but this is really based around resolution. So this is an interesting chart that kind of speaks about the effective resolution of VR versus what it looks like in a normal fixed frame video. So we're kind of right now, we're playing in the 4K sort of arena. That black headset I showed you is a 4K headset, and they reckon 16K, you won't be able to discern the difference in a headset versus what your eye can actually see, the retina equivalent of a VR headset. So we're a couple of years away from there, but the technology is advancing really quickly. In fact, if you walked into a store right now with all the money in the world and you wanted to buy the best TV screen you could buy, this is kind of what it would look like. This is a 4K screen. That means that there are 4,000 individual little LEDs across that long side of the screen. Right now where we're at is that a VR headset has crammed all 4,000 of those pixels into the screen. That's what we have today. In the next year and a half to 2 years, that resolution is going to double. We're going to have an 8K resolution screen that is the size of your cell phone screen in a VR headset. And the third thing is broadband speed and cost, right? This is a really important thing for Africa, and having listened to a lot of the presentations from this morning, I'm really inspired about the progress that live streaming has made in particular, because this is paving the way for data transmission and access throughout Africa. We're expecting this technology to start kind of making its way throughout Africa in about 2020, 2021. But even if that does not happen, the really exciting news on the software side is that compression technology, which makes data really small over the airwaves without losing quality, there's some amazing things happening, including a new codec called H.265, which we're currently using. It gives us 3 times the quality for the same amount of data, or 3 times smaller file without losing any quality than just a year ago. And then AV1 is being worked on by Netflix and Cisco and Microsoft and a few others with similar potential, which is going to significantly lower the cost of bandwidth and live streaming something like a concert in VR in Africa to your mobile device. So I'm going to leave you with a list in summary. Live VR is here, and it's awesome. The end. That's it. Thank you.